Hello everybody, welcome back to another Finnigan 40k Fight Force 4. From the last battle you guys saw the death card. I don't want to say manhandled the Blood Angels, but they did pretty quick work with them. And they remain at the top of the hill as the king of the hills right now. I have placed my Astra Militarum in to try to take them out. I'll cover a little bit of those forces once they get put on the field here. I'm also thinking this video is going to be a little bit shorter because I explained everything last time. So if you guys are trying to get caught up, watch the beginning of the last video or the whole thing through if you want to see how the Death Guard took care of the Blood Angels. As per our rules, I have our 2 dice here. So we have our Death Guard dice, which is the sickly, kind of gross, greeny, beige one. And we have red, which is going to be the Astra Militarum. So whoever rolls highest here gets to get placed on the field first. And then also gets to move first, shoot first if that's the case, and then hand-to-hand, which probably won't happen for a bit. It's going to be the same battlefield too, so I'll just cover that really quick also, but we're going to roll off here. So we'll let the guests roll first. Fitting too with my tattoo there, we got the Astra Militarum. So it's a 4. Let's see what the Death Guard get. And it's a 1. So that is going to be the Astra Militarum setting up. I'm going to look at the battlefield, see what's going to be best for them, and then go from there. And I'll show you guys where everybody's placed and kind of my strategy for this one from the side of the Astra Militarum. Okay, so this is the same field as the first battle, still kind of grungy and like Black Plague looking-ish with my Mordheim terrain and a gross fountain. The middle terrain piece here is a pretty good line of sight blocker for both sides. So I have, well, I'll show you guys the Death Guard first just to see how I line them up. So the Death Guard did not win the roll there. They've been set up. The 5 Plague Marines in behind the Mordheim structure here, so they can climb it if they want, get up there and get some range. The Death Shroud Terminators are in the middle with the Malignant Plague Caster beside them, and these guys are going to be drudging forward as always. It's going to be important to keep these guys in cover, and I'll get to that in just a sec from the side of the Death Guard. And then the last 5 section of Plague Marines is over on this side. That is a 390-point Death Guard army. And then over here is a 385-point Khazarkan and Cadian squad. So this is a Cadian army that's main force here is Khazarkan. So I've taken in my Khazarkan gargoyles, I've called them, over here on the left, and then my Khazarkan Shark Garzone. You guys can see these squads and how they did throughout my narrative crusade during my Cadian narrative. You guys can check that out. It's on another playlist for my channel. So each Khazarkan squad is made up of 10. They do have special weapons as well, and I've checked against the new rules because we had that balanced data slate that came out just to make sure everything is still legit, and it is. So in the gargoyles here on the left, we have a grenade launcher, flamer, plasma pistol sergeant, melta-gun, and plasma gun. With the melta-mine, the Sharkar's own have a melta-gun, plasma pistol, flamer, plasma gun, hotshot volley gun, and then we also have a las marksman rifle. All legit. The plan here is to get these guys down with a little bit of a faster move and kind of pin those Death Guard back, keep that range, because we saw last time that the Nurgle's Gift Contagion is absolutely devastating in regards to penalizing units for their rolls. So if I can keep these guys at a distance, a lot of the weapons there have pretty good range, except for the melta-guns. So we're going to see how that goes. And the strength of the weapons is actually quite good as well. So I'm hoping that that's going to help out. And then to round out, after what we saw, and this was my plan going in here, I didn't really have too much artillery in my previous campaign, my narrative. I had a little bit, but I brought in 2 heavy las cannons here, and my Castellan is the warlord for this force. So this, again, as per the new rules, still good to go. So the las cannons there are considered regimental, and then my Castellan is also a regiment, so he can give orders. The new Castellan rules is that they can give 2 orders apiece. It used to be 1. So he is going to be buffing out these heavy las cannons as much as he possibly can. They're also heavy weapons, so it's very possible that these things are going to be hitting on a 3+, which is amazing. Strength 14 against the toughness 7 and 6 of the Death Guard. So if I can keep these things firing the entire battle and keep them at range, I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to take out the Death Guard. It's a bit of a gamble because I'm, if the Death Guard get up close enough, they're going to completely decimate, as we saw those Death Shroud Terminators. they're going to destroy the artillery pieces. And the Castellan is also probably my best hand-to-hand combat model here as well. So having him back in behind the Allied lines is going to be tricky, while the Khazar can move up and do their thing. So we're going to get moving here. It is going to be the Acadian going first. And then I'm hoping there'll be a few things in range and a few things in line of sight. I'm going to probably try to roll a little bit less in the dice tray this time too, just to make sure that the video isn't like, hour and a half isn't too bad, but I'm going to try to keep it maybe under an hour just to make them more crisp and easier to watch, because an hour and a half can be a little bit long. So yeah, we'll get to this one right now, and I'm going to be moving my Acadian, come back, and we'll do the same things we've done in the past. Make a move, show you guys what happened, make a shoot, show you guys what happened, hand-to-hand combat, all that good stuff. And if there's any big dramatic rolls that I foresee happening, at that point, I'll turn on the dice camera and we'll get that going. But let's get this battle on the way, and we'll see if the Death Guard can remain the king of the hill, or if my Acadian, Khazarkin, and heavy las cannon teams with my Castellan can knock them off the hill and take that top spot. Alrighty, here we go. Alright, so my Acadian have completed their move. Show you guys the regular Khazarkin there, as well as the Castellan move 6 inches. Same kind of movement as a Space Marine would have. The heavy las cannon field ordnance battery moves up 3 inches, so the Castellan just kind of snuck in behind. I don't think these things are going to move much more, but because of that first movement, just to get them on the field, I did lose their heavy ability. However, the Castellan does have the faction ability Voice of Command, so there used to be 1 order that was issued by a Castellan. It is now 2, and the way this works is your officer models can issue orders to buff out your units. So those orders are move, 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 which adds 3 movement, or a 3-inch movement to your characters. Fix bayonet, which is +1 to your weapon skill. Take aim, which I'm going to be placing here probably for the majority of the battle, and that's going to help the heavy las cannons with their ballistic skill, so it's going to give them an extra 1. So just to read that, improve the ballistic skill characteristics of ranged weapons equipped by models in this unit by 1. First rank fire, second rank fire. If he was teamed up with the Khazarkin, I might think about this, as well as take cover, maybe use tier 2. So I should cover first rank fire, second rank fire is any weapons that are rapid fire, which is usually your las gun, your hot shot las gun, stuff like that. Anything that's a rapid fire gets an additional 1. So very good when you have tons of Acadian models firing. Take cover is improve the save characteristics of models in this unit by 1. Can't go past 3+, but that is going to help greatly for the save if the Nurgle Death Guard get in here a little bit closer. And then Duty and Honor, which is improve the leadership and objective control characteristics of models in this unit by 1. That's not going to be necessary because we're not doing objective control for this. But I am going to lock in right now take aim, so that's going to be +1 to ballistic skill, and take cover, which is going to add a +1 to the save. Right off the bat, too, we do have a few models that are in range, which is fantastic. So the Khazarkin are maximum ranged at 36 inches with the hotshot or the marksman rifle, which is on the upper left there of my Sharkars squad. And then the hotshot volley guns have 30-inch, and there's 1 in this unit and none in this one. There are on the models just because I liked it, but I'm not going to be able to use those rules. So 1 here, none here. And then the heavy las cannons have a 40-inch range, and just to show you guys what that is, that's hitting like past the table, so like over here. So this unit of Death Guard is actually in range right off the bat. They haven't even stepped on the field yet, and those las cannons are going to start to barrel down on them. And I'm going to be rolling that right now. So I might get that one in the tray just to start it up. Really, really hoping that I get some good rolls this time for my Imperium models, because I need that if I want to take these Death Guard and knock them off the hill. So over the dice tray real quick, this might be one of a few rolls this game. But we're getting to it right away. Very exciting. And as an Astra Militarum player, I'm rooting hard for my Acadian, but as always, I'll be playing hard for both sides. Okay, so let's get these dice rolls started. The Plague Marines have not even stepped on the field yet, and they're going to be getting a heavy las cannon blast, hopefully right to the face. Each heavy las cannon has a 2 attack, usually hits on a 5+, but with the take aim command from the Castellan, that is a 4+. And with the heavy ability, which they lost because they moved, it is a 3+. So I'm really hoping to get some of these rolls. It is also strength 14, -3 to AP, and it's D6 +1 for damage. So I know Death Guard have made a mess of the Tyranid. The Tyranid force I put in were not as strong as they could have been for Last Stand series. And the Blood Angels I put in as well, due to that kind of point maximum, I couldn't really get anything in there like servo turrets or anything that would have super high strength. But I'm hoping that my Cadian can do it here, and they're kind of the perfect force to actually take on Plague Marines. Tanks, artillery, far-ranged attacks with very high strength, and we'll see how it goes. So here we go. First ones, looking for 4+. Didn't get either, not a good start. That is the first heavy las cannon. It didn't fire, it just clicked. And then we got one through. So this has got to improve. It is, however, strength 14 versus toughness 6. So this is going to be 2s to wound. Just got it. Got a 2. And our Plague Marine here is usually a 3+ save with that -3 to AP. They don't have an invulnerable. They're up to 6+. Did not save it. So that is a 2. And we're going to see how much damage we're getting here. Wow. So 5 + 1, that's 6. That has killed 3 of the Plague Marines. So you can imagine, and I don't know, again, the rules here, like, because it looks like this has been fired. It's not fired against one character. It's fired against a unit. So that has been 5 + 1, 6 damage. Each Plague Marine has 2 wounds. So that's 2, 4, 6. So that's 3 models gone. Because I'm guessing just that las cannon blast is so thick and powerful that it's gone through all of the Plague Marines just like a big, big laser blast. So that's the way I'm picturing it. So that is a very good start. Sad that I did not get more, because that could have probably killed the entire squad. But that Plague Marine unit is now down to 2 models, and we've started off well for the Cadian. I'm going to check now if there's anyone else in range. If they are, I'll roll that off camera and then come back and show you guys the aftermath. That sums up the first turn for our Cadian and Cadian Kazarkin. So there were 2 of the Sharkar's own in range as well, actually, with the Marksman rifle and the hotshot volley gun. They do have a better ballistic skill than a normal Guardsman. So a normal Guardsman has a 4+. These guys have a 3+. Just because of their elite. Usually in a campaign, I'll have these guys also attached to a unit that can buff them out, like a Castellan or someone that can raise that take aim to make it a 2+, which is absolutely fantastic. But they did find a possibility to pop just right through. The shot would have come right across into the Death Shroud, but they were not able to wound, because even though they do have that 3+, they were able to get some shots off. The strength of the weapon is only a 4, and the toughness of these guys, as we've seen, is a 7. So you need 5s to roll there. Not a bad first round, though. We had the heavy las cannon, one of these 2 fired, and it was able to turn this Plague Marine squad into kind of a burnt mess. So there was 5. There is now 2. And it is moving back over to the Death Guard here in a sec for their move. These guys are going to have to probably stay in cover unless they want to get more las cannon blasts to the face. That's going to be super important for my Death Shroud. So to move them around, we're going to have to try to keep them behind cover and then pop out. But what I'm going to try to do with my Cadian is keep them out in the open and make sure that they're open to those las cannon shots. I really hope I don't have to move my las cannons, because they only move 3 inches at a time to get them back into range or into line of sight. But we'll see how the battle goes, and we're now back over to the Death Guard for their move. Be right back, show you guys what they've done, and then we'll take it to their shoot if anyone's in range. So quick move turn there by the Death Guard. They are still going those 5 inches, but all are in cover currently. So the Plague Marines here on the right that lost those 3 in the last turn were able to kind of tuck in behind the Malignant Plague Caster. He is leading that unit now. The Death Shroud are in behind the Fountain piece. They may be open to some of the Marksman, Hotshot Volley, and the Marksman Rifle, but against the last cannon, it looks like they're okay for now. The Contagion range 2 for Nurgle's Gift is 3 inches during this first turn, so quite small, but as the battle moves forward, that will expand to 6. And then finally to 9, where it will stay. So this one is moving back over to the Cadian. None of the Death Guard models are in range. Their bolt gun's plasma gun is 24 inches. And then the Plague Burst gauntlets there are pistol, so 12 inches, and the Malignant Plague Caster is 24 as well, I believe. So none in range, but they're getting close right now. That's hitting just right about here across that line. So as the Acadian continue to move, I'm gonna have to get them into cover here too to make sure that they're not going to get shredded by bolt fire, because these guys do not have the best toughness, because they are just like you and me. They are human models fighting in the year 40,000 against crazy demonic superhumans. So back over to them, and I'll sum up what they do. All right, so the Acadian have finished their move. Not too much happened. I actually changed up my strategy a bit here. So I'm going to be using the Sharkgar's Own, which is my middle Kazarkin squad, to kind of lure the Death Guard out into the open. The Death Guard have to come out and fight, because the decider for this whole battle is one side has to defeat the other entirely. My gargoyles, I was planning on moving them out, but if I'd move them to 6 inches, they would be in range, probably right about here, which is in range for the Plague Marines if they pop out from underneath their little Mordheim terrain there. And I actually did do a line of sight, so I'll try to bring the camera right down here for you guys. You can see this las cannon here is firing right through that terrain. See if this thing can focus up. And this Death Guard on the left here with the plasma gun is actually in line of sight and within range. So there is going to be a couple of shoots here that are going to happen from the side of the Acadian. And I'm going to do that off camera, come back and show you guys, but that is definitely line of sight. And then down here, we have the marksman rifle and the hotshot volley gun, and they both have this Death Shroud Terminator just around the corner, so I'm going to give him benefit of cover, but they can shoot him from line of sight there. So if you just pull it around like that, that's right in behind those two models. There they are. And he is in line of sight. So they're going to take a couple pot shots as well. Don't know if it's going to do anything. Maybe we'll get a lucky roll, though. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to roll that again off camera in the tray, come back and show you guys if any more Nurgle are dead. Just back from the dice rolling tray. Pretty damn good rolls from the Acadian this turn again. The las cannon here on the left, heavy las cannon fired down, and it took out that Plague Marine. It sucks that there's only the one in line of sight, so it just lazed right through him. But I rolled double sixes, which was insane for the damage. So he actually took 12 damage, that guy. If it had been a full section, it would have killed the entire Plague Marine section, but that's not how this works. He wasn't in line of sight, so that was just aimed at him. And then over here, we had the hotshot volley gun, as well as the marksman rifle fire. The hotshot volley gun was able to wound one of the Death Shroud Terminators, so the one on the left here is down to 3 wounds. This is going to turn into a battle of time. I'm hoping my Acadian can continue to get good rolls and take that damage out, because as the table gets shorter and shorter and they move closer and closer, that hand-to-hand combat is going to become inevitable. And I don't care how good the Kazarkin are, they're the elite of the Acadian shock troops, but against a Death Shroud Terminator, I think one of them could probably kill an entire section, or at least 50% of a section. So I'm going to have to keep playing here really smart, keep my distance, keep chipping away at these wounds. It is back over to the Death Guard now. This is the second phase, second turn of the game as well. So Nurgle's Gift is now 6 inches around. I'm going to have to keep that in mind too, so I'm not going to be taking any penalties to their ballistic skill. And as these models have to come out of cover, they might have a bit of a shoot, but that's the only way they're going to be able to kill at distance. And by doing that, they are going to expose themselves. So I'm going to have to play here smart for my Death Guard, see if I can maybe keep a few in cover and keep them crawling up the field with that slow 5-inch move. And I don't want to jump the gun yet. I know I always do this in battles, but it's looking pretty good for the Acadian as long as we can keep that distance and keep those rolls coming. But over to the Plague Marines, and we will see what they do for their move, and I'll be right back to show you. So just wanted to start on this angle. The Death Guard just finished their turn, but they have tucked themselves in really tight. The las cannons now have nothing in line of sight. Let me just see this side. Ooh, maybe this Plague Marine section, but it is still their turn. So And then over here, the Kazarkin definitely have this Plague Marine section in line of sight, but that also means that the Kazarkin are in line of sight for the bolt guns that are in that Death Guard unit. And then up here, if there's anything in range, they do as well, but they do not have a line of sight by the Death Guard at the fountain. So right now, bring it over here. These guys are definitely out in the open, but they have to be. Those are two Plague Marines with hand-to-hand combat weapons, so they've got to get down the field and get into it. And then the Death Rat have tucked in behind here with the Malignant Plague Caster and the remaining Plague Marine to hopefully get away from that heavy las cannon fire and then pop out probably on the other side here to try to keep that out of range, because they know those heavy las cannons are going to lose some of their capability with their ballistic skill if they have to move. So we're going to see here, I'm going to go to the tray. I think I'm going to actually roll this one. So we'll have the Death Guard here that are in range start to fire upon the Kazarkin Shrekar zone that are holding down the middle of the table. And we will see what kind of casualties are going to happen for the Cadian. Okay, so here we are for the first roll of the ranged attack for Plague Marine Death Guard units here. So we do have two in that Plague Marine unit that have the Kazarkin Shrekar's own in their range. Luckily for the Kazarkin, there are only two that have bolt guns in this unit, and the others have bolt pistols, which are not in range. However, there are still going to be some shots coming down here. And they still have a very good shot, even though these Plague Marines have been rotting for 10,000 years. So we're going to start it up here. Bolt gun, it's going to be 2 dice hitting on a 3+. Both have hit. Fire with our other one. Both have hit. It is strength 4 versus toughness 3. These Kazarkin, you can sometimes give them the take cover, which helps out with the save, but they don't have an officer unit attached to them that can give them orders. So they are moving across the field. Unless, hold on, Warrior Elite. Once per battle round at the start of any phase, you can select one order to affect this unit until the start of your next command phase, in addition to any other orders issued to this unit by an officer model this battle round. You can select one order to affect this unit until the start of your next command phase, in addition to any... Oh, so I can give them an order. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Again, this is chess. I missed it for this turn. So it is 4 versus toughness 3, 3s to wound. Ooh, and that was a lucky roll for the Kazarkin. So we have 2, 2, 1, 3. So only one has gone through. It is 0 AP. So the Kazarkin have their usual 4+ save with their kind of carapace, a little bit heavier armor. And saved it. So that is good to go. That was the only shots in range. I'm going to have to read that ability again just to be sure with Warrior Elite to make sure that I can actually give them an order. Because if that's the case, I'm going to start buffing them out as, I guess, the soldier or the commander here of their force. So I'll be reading that in just a second. I'll come back and it is back over to the Kazarkin and Cadian for their move and shoot. So here we are. I just wanted to take a shot of my Kazarkin while I read this rule. And some of the Warhammer rules are a little vague because it would usually say if there was someone that could give orders, you'd have the orders ability underneath, but it's not there. However, it does say once per battle round at the start of any phase, which would be now, you can select one order to affect this unit until the start of your next command phase, in addition to any other orders issued to this unit by an officer. So that looks like I can give them an order. Since I have not done the contagion yet for Nurgle, I am going to give these guys take cover. So that's going to give them an additional save in case the Nurgle decide to do the contagion. I think it's the rattle joint ag or whatever. So I'll see what I'm going to do with them. I might just do the ballistic skill and toughness again. We'll have to see as this battle moves forward. But right now, it looks like these guys can take an order, and that order coming from me as the Cadian commander right now is going to be take cover to add a save. So they usually have a 4+, that'll bring them up to a 3+, and then if there is a penalty, they'll be back to their 4+ save. So that's going to hopefully help out quite a bit. But back to their movement now. Just wanted to read that again and make sure it was on camera so everything's understood. And next Nurgle turn, I'm going to lock in their ability with the Nurgle's Gift and Contagion, because that 9 inches is going to be happening super soon, and this table is going to become very, very tight. So I'm going to move my Cadian, come right back, show you guys that, and then we'll move to the shoot if anyone's in range and in line of sight. Okay, the Cadian Kazarkin movement is done. I have moved this unit up 6 inches, and I think I'm probably going to have to keep them here unless I want to start facing some of the Nurgle's gifts. So right now with the 6-inch out, that's about here. And my next turn, it's going to be about here, so about an inch away from this squad. Um, However, all of the Plague Marines are in range right now in this unit for my Kazarkin Sharkar Zone, and any weapons that are hitting 24 inches for my Kazarkin Gargoyles. So those Nurgle did come out from cover. They came out underneath the building there last turn, and now they're open to be fired upon. So I'm going to go to the dice tray. I'm going to start rolling that, and we'll see if the Kazarkin can start to pick away at these numbers here. That's a lot of shots coming in and some pretty specialized weapons, so I'm hoping that that's going to help out. And then over here, these guys are still tucked in really tight. And there's nothing in line of sight for my heavy las cannons. So these things are right here. And we're going to have to see, but this unit's probably going to start to wheel around here to try to keep those las cannons out of line of sight and get into hand-to-hand combat with this unit. Move over to this one, try to swallow it up, and then probably come across here. But we'll see, because those heavy las cannons can still move. They've got a very poor 3-inch move, but those are heavy guns that are being lifted by a crew of 3 each. And maybe the Castellan if he wants to get his hands dirty. And I will lose the heavy ability because of that too. So I'm going to have to consider all of that. But right now, we're going to start these shoots for the Kazarkin and see how many Plague Marines they can kill. Okay, so Astra Militarum, Cadian Kazarkin turn is done. They shot both sections. Some of the weapons in here are not in range. So the Flamer was not in range, the Melta was not in range, the Plasma Pistol was not in range, the Hotshot Las Pistol was not in range, but everything else fired. They were able to take a wound off of this guy here because they went second. Up here was a little bit better. So I had a lot of weapons that were in their rapid fire range. So they're a 24-inch range. If they're within 12, which actually puts it just a little bit behind this section, you get extra attacks based on that profile. So everything was able to fire from here, and they were able to kill that first Plague Marine. So not the worst turn. It is, however, now going back over to the Plague Marines, and they're just going to keep drudging forward. If they're only losing 1 or maybe 2 guys per turn against 20 Kazarkin, not going to be great. And we also have the Death Shroud that are going to be coming around the corner soon with the Malignant Plaguecaster, and they're going to probably be in range here. So the Sharkar Zone here in the center of the table might be in trouble soon, but this is kind of my strategy. I wanted them to get these Plague Marines to be lured out into the open to then have my heavy las cannons fire. So we'll see if it works. Over to the Death Guard now, check out their move, and I'll be right back and show you guys what they've done. Summing up the Death Guard turn there, it is now the 3rd turn of the battle, so that Nurgle's Gift Contagion is a 9-inch ring around each of these models because they all have that ability. They have moved up and are face-to-face now almost with the Kazarkin. That 9-inch ring comes to about here, so all of these models have been affected. When I get to the dice tray here, I am going to roll again for Nurgle. I'll let you guys know what contagion I have decided to choose. And I'll outline quickly what that's about too, just in case if everyone is starting to watch from this video and haven't seen the Last Stand series with these guys in it or the previous Fight Force 4. These guys are still outside of range. I'm very happy I decided not to move them in because they're still going to be able to take some pot shots. And the Kazarkin, even though probably going to get pretty badly beat up here, have lured a lot of the enemy out into the open for my heavy las cannons to start to fire and hopefully chip some wounds off and maybe kill some models. So over the dice tray here, I am going to read that Nurgle's Gift, and then we're going to get to the bolt pistols, bolt guns, plague burst gauntlets, and all that good stuff that's in line of sight to take out some of these Kazarkin models. All right, so over to the dice tray, just going to read really quickly Nurgle's Gift. So the Death Guard have this, any model that has the aura attached to them. So in the first battle round, we had a 3-inch ring around the model. It moves to 6 inches in the second round, and then in the third round, it's 9 inches. So you can kind of picture a bunch of like pestilence and stink and flies and rot just like kind of buzzing around the models. And as the wind takes over across the field, like artillery shells are going by, it's getting blown around. So it goes out to 9 inches. So afflicted. During the declare battle formation step, select one of the plagues below. Until the end of the battle, while an enemy unit is afflicted, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristics of models in that unit, and that unit has the effect of your chosen plague. So right now they have a -1 to toughness, which is also not great because these are humans. They are not superhumans, just like you and me fighting in the year 40,000 against crazy monsters and superhumans and warp entities and a bunch of stuff. So that's going to really affect as the wounds come in here. And I'm also going to do the rattle joint ag or egg. So kind of cool description. Limbs shuddering with fever, palsy, bones turned brittle as glass. These warriors can barely act to defend themselves. So what happens there is it is a penalty to save. So worsen the save characteristics of models in this unit by 1. So the Khazarkin do have a better save than a regular Cadian shock troop. And I did give them that take cover, but they're still going to be back up to their 4+ save because of that rattle joint og. But enough of that. We're going to get to the Plague Marines here. So we're going to be firing with bolt pistols first. And there are 2 models in here that have, 3 models that have bolt pistols. So we're going to roll them one at a time here, looking for a 3+. Got one, and got one. So this one, I said in the last fight, it looks like it's a 1, but it's actually the 6 for this dice because there is a 1 here. So that's just the Death Guard sign from 30,000, Warhammer 30K. So all through with the bolt pistol, it is a strength 4 against toughness 2. So this would usually be wounding on a 3. It's now wounding on a 2, and that's because of the Khazarkin being inside that Nurgle's Gift contagion range. So we're looking for 2s here for Death Guard. Got it all. So 3 shots are through. And what is usually a 3+ save because of take cover, the order I've given them, it is now a 4+, which is the regular save. So luckily there's no AP here, or it would be worse. But we're looking for 3 4+ here if you're cheering Khazarkin. And they got it. So there's a 4, 5, 6. They've been able to save that, which is pretty sweet. I'm going to be moving now over to the bolt gun, which is also with one of these Plague Marines. So there's 2 shots coming in. It is hitting on a 3+. So 1 fell off. It is strength 4 versus toughness 2, 2s to wound, and a 1. So it looks like my poor dice rolling luck has finally switched over to the enemy models, for now at least, because usually I do not roll well for my Astra Militarum. I'm going to get everything set up here, and we're going to start firing with the Death Shroud Terminators, so I'll be back in just a sec. Okay, so this is probably going to be the most dice rolls I'll do for this game, because I know it can take a little while here. But I wanted to roll at least once for the Plague Burst Gauntlets of the Death Shroud Terminators. They're really cool weapons, kind of like a flamer, but it's blasting like a bunch of plague shit out of them. So it's 12 inches. There's no like extra rapid fire, but it is a D6 torrent weapon. So it ignores cover, it hits automatically. You just have to see how many hits you're making. And then after that, you roll again. It's strength 3, so not the strongest, but because of that penalty from Nurgle's Gift to the Khazarkin, it's against a toughness 2. So it's going to be, instead of 4s, 3s to wound, which is actually quite a big difference. So let's see how the first guy does. He got 6. Yay. 4. 4. So how this happens is you roll a d6 to see how many attacks actually come out of this, because they're just like spraying. So it's going to be a whole bunch. So we have 6, 10, 14. So I'm just going to grab this. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Make sure I got enough dice. So this is strength 3. Again, this would usually be 4s, but since those Khazarkin are affected, they have a toughness of 2. So this is going to be 3s to wound. And a pretty good roll. So we have a 1 there. We have a 2 there. Everything else is through. There's no AP with this, but because of that hurt to save as well, I'm going to roll these. So this is going to be for the Khazarkin. So this is how many wounds have gone through, and now I'm able to save with the Khazarkin. So they need 4 pluses here. Usually be a 3+, but because again they're affected by the contagion, rattle joint og, it is now a 4+. And that was not a good roll. So I'll pull out the ones that did save, so 6s and 4s. However, 1 damage per. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've lost over half of the section. There's only 3 Kazarkin left. I am going to pull those models out, and we will look at the aftermath and who's left in that Kazarkin section. Oof, that one hurt. So they were able to survive a lot of the Plague Marine attacks. However, there are now 3 remaining, so I kept my 3 strongest weapons in the section. A lot of people, you play by the morale rule, like there's a break and you need leadership. I never play that way. If you guys want to look back on my videos, I've never done that. I think it's the stupidest rule. This is literally life and death. These guys are fighting. There's nowhere to run. You're going to have to lock yourself down. They're trained elite Astra Militarum. They're facing some crazy demons, but these guys are not going to turn tail and run. And if you're a Space Marine, you're definitely not doing that. So you guys will see I don't include that in my battles. I play a very different kind of game compared to tournament rules, and I just like it. Moves a bit faster, makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, there's no escaping here. Like, this is it. They're locked in a city with the Plague Marines, and the Plague Marines are kind of locked in the city with the Kazarkin and Cadian, but they're not going anywhere. So I have these 3 left. I have my Plasma Gunner, my Sergeant with Plasma Pistol and Power Sword, and I have my Melt-A-Gun. So these guys, I'm going to see if I can move them back to get them outside of that contagion range of 9 inches, but keep their range. The big plus is there is a Multa +2 with this if he's within half, so 6 inches. So I'm going to have to go back before I start rolling for this. I'll have to really see what I want to do. These guys are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They've lured the Death Guard out. The Death Guard are now open to pretty much the entire section of Kazarkin here, and then the las cannons as well have them in line of sight. So this is what this unit was supposed to do. So I think I'm going to maybe just continue, try to do as much damage as I possibly can to weaken these guys up. But the time is running out, and as these models move ahead, the Death Shroud are still very healthy. They're going to be able to swallow up human models very quickly and cut them to ribbons with their Man Reaper scythes. So I'm going to do some strategy here, do some movement. I will come back and show you guys what I have decided to do with my Kazarkin here, and we'll see if these guys will become martyrs and possibly hold their ground and just keep firing until they get right into it with the Plague Marines. Okay, so very quick move there by the Kazarkin. I did pull them back the 6 inches, so they're outside of that contagion range. It's not going to last long because those Plague Marines are coming at them, and that circle will get closer and closer. Right now, I believe it's about here. I moved them back 6 inches, maybe a little closer to here, which is a circle that's coming right around here. So even these Kazarkin and the las cannons are going to be probably in that ring soon enough if they get closer. So I might have to pull these guys off the tower and try to hold off those Death Guard to make sure that they can't get any closer to the heavy las cannons, because that's really all we got here. So I am going to fire. The other thing I was thinking is the Melt-A-Gun. I need a 3 or 4 plus. I think it's a 3. The Plasma sometimes 4 if you're supercharging. I'll have to look. I'm going to roll that off camera anyways. But whether I get that roll or not, it wouldn't have really mattered. Like if I got it, it would have been a +2 Melta, but then these guys would have been swarmed next turn. This is outside of the reach of hand-to-hand combat. Little better chance, I think, against the Bolt Fire and the Plague Burst Gauntlets because of the distance now, if they shoot. But we'll see. So I'm going to roll off camera here for all of the guns that are in range. We have the las cannons that are going to be able to fire. We have these 3 Kazarkin and the entire 10 section of Kazarkin up here in the bunker. So I'm hoping that they're going to really be able to kind of slice through a lot of these Plague Marines and leave just the Death Shroud, the Malignant Plague Caster, and that lone Plague Marine from the start. So off to roll, and I will be right back and show you guys who they were able to kill. All right, so just finished the Cadian turn. I'm really glad I didn't roll it in the dice tray because it was absolutely embarrassing. The amount of 1s and 2s I rolled were insane. So the las cannons, only 1 shot went off with a 3+. None of these guys were able to shoot. It was 1s and 2s. And then over here, the gargoyles were able to get a couple shots off. A lot of weapons aren't in range, though. I think at least 3, 4 aren't in range there. But they did not fire or did not wound. All in all, there was only 1 Plague Marine killed, and then another wound delivered here. That was from the heavy las cannon. Um, my strategy is a good one, but I need to be able to actually roll to hit. So this is going back over to the Death Guard. That roll might switch over in their favor now as well because they were rolling kind of poorly. But we're going to do their move. I'll come back and show you guys that because these Cadian are most likely going to be back in that contagion range. I need to start rolling well if I want these Khazarkin to win and knock these Death Guard off the top of the hill. But yeah, back over the Death Guard, and I will show you guys their move in just a moment. Death Guard are continuing to move forward slowly, shambling along with those crickety, rusty, putrid joints. So the contagion ring is now affecting these Khazarkin. It's coming back to just about beyond. It's also super close to the tower now. It's about an inch outside of the base of the tower. And the Death Shroud seem to now have their attention fixed on the tower as well, as they probably think that these three are going to be finished off by the Plague Marines. They're not in range yet, though. However, the Plague Burst Gauntlets here are in range to shoot here. So these three Khazarkin that remain will be taking the firepower of the Plague Marines, the Death Shroud Terminators, and if in line of sight, the Malignant Plague Caster and the Lone Plague Marine here, because he might actually have a plasma pistol. He does. So that's maybe not in range, but I'm going to roll that off camera. I will come back and show you guys if any of these Khazarkin are left. And if the Plague Marines are able to finish them off, and for some reason I didn't calculate right, and these guys are actually in range, we'll see how it goes. But I'll be right back in a sec and show you guys what kind of casualties the Khazarkin take during this Death Guard shoot. Death Guard shoot phase done. Holy shit, some terrible rolls by the Death Guard, but the ones that did get through, the Khazarkin were able to save almost all of them. One did get through, though, and it killed the Plasma Gunner. I always love playing as Astra Militarum. These guys like face the worst odds ever, and somehow they just keep fighting on and on. It's that awesome human spirit, and just, I don't know, the way that it rolls is really cool. So we do have the two remaining here. They are going to be able to fight back. I think I might move them up here to try to get that Melta 2 if by some chance I can get a roll. And being strength 8, they may be able to kill a Plague Marine, which would be awesome before they probably go down next turn. Also, everyone up here should now be in range with that 12-inch. I might move them, though, just to make sure that I do get them in range, because these guys have to start firing on all cylinders with all weapons. And then these heavy las cannons, capable of taking out like an entire section of Plague Marines, an entire fucking company of Plague Marines, but they're rolling like garbage. So I really, really hope that I can get some rolls here. I'm going to do the Cadian move, come right back, show you guys what I've decided to do. And yeah, I might be maxing out that plasma pistol too, going in with a supercharge and just seeing what I can do to do as much damage as I possibly can before the sergeant and his Melta Gunner go down. These guys are still fighting, though, and if by some chance they can take out these Death Guard, absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to go do the move, come right back, show you guys, and then we'll get into the shoots. All right, so the sergeant here has decided to go right in. They were in range to get into hand-to-hand combat, but I didn't want to get too crazy. I'm hoping that that supercharged plasma pistol and the Melta is going to be able to roll, and we can do some extreme damage here. The Gargoyle Khazarkin Unit 2 just absolutely floored by the heroism going on here, decided to jump out of the bunker and join in, help out their brothers and sisters in the fight. Most of these are now in range because of that move. And I also have the Melta mine in here, which is going to be a last-ditch effort if worse comes to worse, where I can throw that mine 3 inches and hopefully do some mortal wounds. So it's going to be the shoot now. I think I'm going to roll these two in the tray, just get that going, see what happens. I really hope that it's a good roll. I'm going to keep it on camera no matter what, because it's kind of a last-ditch effort by two Khazarkin that are probably going down next turn. But there shouldn't be any penalties there because it's affecting their save and their toughness. They should be able to shoot as per normal, so I'm really hoping to get some good rolls. Over to the tray, and we're going to do that right now. Okay, since I can give orders here per battle round, I am going to be doing take aim as well for my Khazarkin, so I've given them that command really hoping that's gonna help out here. So first one is going to be the Meltagun. It's going to be a 2+ now. Got a 4. Amazing. It is 9 strength versus toughness 6. 3 to wound. Come on, 3 or more. Got a 5. Amazing. This actually brings the Plague Marines up to a 7+ save, which is not possible. They usually have a 3+. There's no invulnerable, and there's no feel no pain. So this is going to be going through with however many wounds are allocated here with the damage D6, and it's 4. So they have killed 2 Plague Marines. I'm just doing that over here. The Sergeant has 1 wound remaining, so that Meltagunner literally went right up, put the Meltagun, a foot away from those Plague Marines and just blapped them with a bunch of magma stuff. Last one here, hoping we can do it. It is the plasma pistol of the Khazarkan Sergeant. We are supercharging it. It is a 2+. He got his 2, just barely. Strength 8 against toughness 6. This is a 3. Got it. -3 to AP. That brings our Plague Marine up to a 6. We did save it, and since it is hazardous, I'm going to have to roll here to see if our Sergeant takes a mortal wound and is killed. So if it's a 1, he is dead. If it's anything higher, his plasma pistol just got a little hot and his hand maybe got burnt, but he's okay. And he got a 4. So what a last stand there by these guys. Actually, now that there's just the Plague Marine champion left, they might have a chance if he jumps into hand-to-hand combat there. So we'll see what happens during that next phase. But we still have the Khazarkan unit in behind. I think they're going to start to put some rounds down on the Death Shroud with all of their weapons. And there's a few in there that have some pretty good strength, pretty good AP. So I'm going to move over to that unit, roll that off camera, and come back and show you guys if they were able to hurt the Death Shroud. And then last but not least, we have the heavy las cannons. So I'm going to do them off camera too, and I will come back and show you guys how many Plague Marines are dead and sum up what happened there. Well, when the rolls go your way, holy shit. So let's sum up what happened there. We saw in the dice tray that the Sergeant and Meltagunner were able to really take chunks out of the Plague Marines here. There is the Plague Marine champion / Sergeant left with 1 wound. The remaining Khazarkan Gargoyles back here fired upon the Death Shroud Terminators and were able to actually do some pretty good wounds, but it was the heavy las cannon that fired in and killed. Khazarkan killed 1, the one that was wounded down to 3 with some pretty good rolls. The hotshot las guns didn't do much, but it was the Melta plasma crack grenade, and then the icing on the cake was the heavy las cannons. I got some fantastic rolls. Not the best damage. I think I got 5 in total. If I had gotten more of that, this guy might have also been dead. But this is what remains of those Plague Marines. So we have the champion Plague Marine, we have the Death Shroud champion, we have the Malignant Plague Caster, and we have that 1 remaining Plague Marine that got lased at the very beginning of the battle. So there's only 4 remaining. 2 Khazarkan left in that group, 10 left in that section, and we still have our Castellan, who's actually pretty good in hand-to-hand, like nothing compared to Death Shroud, but he can still do some damage against, Plague Marines, maybe the Malignant Plague Caster, but those heavy las cannons, still 6 full wounds. They're still ready to go, fully charged battery packs, ready to put another few rounds down. So it is going back over the Death Guard. I'm going to call it a night for now. So for me, it's going to be 24 hours probably before I get back to you guys. But for you, it'll just be a couple seconds. Very, very cool battle. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm really hoping that the Cadian can take this one. But anything can happen, and these Death Guard, as we've seen, cannot be trifled with and definitely not be taken lightly. So we'll see what happens. I'll be back to see you guys tomorrow. Hope you've enjoyed it so far, and I can't wait to get back into it with the Death Guard move next. See you in a bit. Okay, so it has been almost 24 hours for me, and for you guys just a couple seconds. So sort of the illusion of time. I'm starting to sound like a Zinchian guy. So I've just moved the Death Guard and the Kazarkin Sergeant and Kazarkin Meltagunner put up a hell of a fight, but this might be the end of them, probably the end of them. Gonna probably roll this in the tray to make sure that these guys get that respect that they deserve for trying to go up against a massive Death Shroud Terminator and a Plague Marine Champion / Sergeant. Over here, the Malignant Plague Caster moved up, and the Plague Marine here is going to kind of be used as a shield against the heavy las cannons if they do try to fire at the Malignant Plague Caster. So the shots will be taken on by him, and they're no longer in a unit structure. So that Malignant Plague Caster has broken away. I don't know if those are the rules. I think it makes sense, and I'm going to do it. So there we go. So over the dice tray here, in a sec, I'm going to also just see if there's a ranged attack here. If that's the case, I will probably do that off camera, come back, show you guys if the Death Guard has been able to do that. If not, I'll just sum everything up when we're over the dice tray for the hand-to-hand combat. Okay, so the Death Shroud have been trudging along the battlefield, finally into hand-to-hand combat. The Acadian have done a super great job of keeping them at bay, and the 9-inch circle has encompassed the gargoyles, but we're going to see how they do here. And then the Kazarkin that are in hand-to-hand are also affected by the contagion, as well as the Nurgle's Gift. So this is going to be the Man Reaper. We have two profiles here. There's the Man Reaper Strike, which is 4 attacks at strength 8. Man Reaper Sweep, which is 8 attacks at strength 4. I am going to be selecting that profile here because these are human models that have been affected and currently have a toughness of 2. So we're actually going to be wounding on 2s here. Just grab my dice here for Nurgle. It is hitting on a 3+. So 2 fell off. Oof, that's crazy. It is strength 4 versus toughness 2. So this is going to be 2s to wound. All of them have wounded. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are through. Both of these models have 1 wound apiece, so I'm not sure if by some miracle they saved this. So they have the -1 right now to their save, which would bring them down to or bring them up to a 5+. However, I did lock in the take cover, so they're back up to their 4+ save. And here we go. Let's see what happens. Holy shit. So they saved almost everything. That would have been absolutely insane if they did. However, these two have gone through. That is 1 damage apiece. So you can just picture the Death Shroud with his massive scythe just cut through the 2 guys, probably right at the midsection. And their bodies flopped on the ground there, torso one side and legs on the other. So that is 2 wounds that have been delivered to the Kazarkin. They will not be able to fight back. And that is the end of my Kazarkin Sharkgar's own. They put up a hell of a fight. And now we are going to see what the Acadian are going to do as a movement and a strategy. All right, so Acadian move, only 2 units left for them. We have the Kazarkin here in the frame, and then we also have the heavy las cannon teams with the Castellan, so 3 units. The Nurgle's Gift is hitting right about here, so that's 9 inches out from these models. The Acadian are running out of table, however. They have until here because this is kind of their starting area, so they have maybe another 2 or 3 inches to move back. And we are going to be putting every single bit of firepower that the Kazar can have, as well as the heavy las cannons, onto the Death Shroud Terminator and the Plague Marine Champion. I think my heavy las cannons are going to be aiming at the Death Shroud Terminator, and then my Kazarkin are going to try to light up this Plague Marine. So I'm going to roll that all off camera, build up the suspense. It's going to be a quick fade in, fade out, or fade out, fade in when this comes back, and you guys will know very soon. But I'm super excited to get this one rolled, and really hoping, I don't want to, jump the gun again here, but my Acadian might be able to take this one. So over the dice tray, and I'll be right back to show you guys what's left. Shoot phase is still ongoing, but I had to recap this. So my heavy las cannons just fired. All 4 shots from the heavy las cannons went right into the Death Shroud. -3 to AP, brought him up to his 4+. All wounds went through as well, so he had to make saves. He was able to make 2 5 saves, and then there were 2 that were failed, and I rolled a 10 damage. So the Death Shroud is gone. So the Plague Marine Champion is all that remains. I'm going to move over now to my dice tray once again and fire with the entire Kazarkin Gargoyle squad here. Whoever's in range is going to be firing. This guy only has 1 wound left, but we'll see. They've got some pretty good toughness, pretty good staying power, especially against las guns. So we'll see what happens. But this battle seems to be tilting a little bit more in the favor of the Cadian and putting this force out here. Very, very good strategy against Death Guard. I don't know if it's going to be for the rest of this if they do make it through, but we'll have to find out. And I don't want to jump the gun again here. The Khazar are going to have to kill this guy, and then there's still 2 models remaining with multiple wounds. Or, yeah, 2 with one of the other Plague Marines, and then 4 with the Malignant Plaguecaster. That dice is wrong. It's over here. So we'll see. Be back in a second, show you guys what the Khazar have done. All right, so missed a lot of shots here with my Khazar Gargoyles. The entire hotshot las gun, part of that in the back, didn't fire, didn't penetrate. The crack grenade launcher did not fire. It was my Melta that was able to finish off that lone Plague Marine champion. Got some great damage. That gun, when it fires, is incredible. It's got a -3 to AP, or -4 to AP. The Plague Marines do not have an invulnerable, so it brought them up to a save you can make. And then there's D6 damage, and there was 4 damage allocated, and he only had 1 wound. So that's it. So it's back over the Death Guard, though. There are still 2 models on the board. The Malignant Plaguecaster has a couple of ranged attacks, and they're going to be shambling forward, which might actually close that circle to make the Nurgle's Gift affect the Gargoyles. So I'm going to move that right now. Only 2 models to do, so I'll be back really quick. Okay, so that gap has closed. The Malignant Plaguecaster and Plague Marine Champion have both moved up. The Gargoyles are in range, so they're going to be putting ranged attacks on them. However, the Gift of Nurgle is hitting right about here, so an inch in front of that line. So that's not going to affect their toughness. And we'll see how much damage is done, though, because, again, there's a couple of different profiles here for the Death Guard. And we'll see how many Cadian they kill. Crossing my fingers, it's not too many, but we'll see how it goes. Also, the Plague Marine Champion, once again, is on kind of a diagonal here. So he would take both rounds and move him up a little bit. That's still within the 5. Take a couple rounds there for his champion, for the Malignant Plaguecaster, continue to move. So I'm going to go over the dice tray here, roll that off camera. We'll be firing for both of these models, and then I'll come back and show you guys what's up with the Khazar. Okay, so the Plague Marines are still here. They just finished up their shoot phase. What do you guys think happened? I used Plague Wind with a focused Witchfire, which is a hazardous. He was tapping into the warp for that one. He did pass his hazardous test and got absolutely incredible rolls, and the Khazarkin did not. He was able to kill the entire section with one of his Plague Wind focused Witchfire. If he had failed the hazardous, he would be down to 1 wound currently. So it is now only my Castellan and the heavy las cannon batteries that remain from the field ordnance battery. It is over to them. We're going to be shooting here. I'm going to catch this in the tray. And if I do not roll well for my Khazarkin, what I was hoping was going to be a very easy victory from this point on might change very quickly, especially if this Malignant Plaguecaster can get in there again 12 inches and use that focused Witchfire, Plague Wind. So over the dice tray, I'm going to be firing with these heavy las cannons, and we're definitely going to record that because this may or may not be the end of the battle. This one is coming right down to the wire, and I just remembered as well that this unit is broken up. Again, I don't know if that's a legitimate rule or not, but I'm doing it. So the Plague Marine that has 2 full wounds will be taking the damage from both heavy las cannon batteries because he is kind of blocking the line there for the Malignant Plaguecaster. In reality, the laser beam would probably go right through the both of them, but if it's 2 different units, those weapons have to be fired upon them. If it does kill him, however, in the first go, that would leave the Malignant Plaguecaster open for a shot. So let's see how this goes. So the first heavy las cannon hitting on a 3+ with the take aim, as well as the heavy. Not a good start. So that did not fire. It clicked. They didn't put the battery pack in right or something. They got to kick it in there for the next turn. This is the next one. That's better. So we have a 6 and a 3. Both have fired. It is strength 14 versus toughness 6. So this is going to be 2s to wound. Oh my God, just got it. So 2 and 4. It is a -3 to AP, which brings the Plague Marine up to a 6+ save. Let's see if he can make it. So he failed once. Did make the second. However, this is going to be D6 +1 damage. So if this is one, he's pretty much dead because it's 1+1. If worst comes to worst, but let's see. We're doing the good old kind of prices right here. Let's see if you had chosen this number. So it's going to be 4+1, 5 wounds. The Plague Marine champion that was blocking for the Malignant Plaguecaster has been killed. And the remaining model for the Death Guard army is the Malignant Plaguecaster, but it's back over to them. And we'll see if he can get in range to use that crazy Plague Wind attack again. So everybody out there cheering for Death Guard, I am sorry to inform you that the 12-inch ranged attacks of the Malignant Plaguecaster are just hitting literally like right in front of the tip of the las cannon. So he is not going to be able to do the ranged attack. If he had, very possible that he might have actually taken these guys out. You just saw him take out a 10 section of Kazarkin. So now it is back over to my Cadian. There's going to be no move here. They're going to be getting all those bonuses. So their take aim, their heavy ability, and they're going to be putting the rounds right onto the Malignant Plaguecaster. But once again, I have to roll. If I don't roll, it's very possible that this guy could keep going. And next move, he will definitely be in range to unleash the hazardous warp attack there, Plague Wind. And he does have 4 wounds as well. So if I don't roll high enough or he makes his invulnerable save or something, it's very possible he could still be here. So over the dice tray, and that's going to decide how this battle goes. Okay, so this could be it. We have the heavy las cannons firing into the Malignant Plaguecaster, who is the warlord for this Death Guard force. It is going to be 2 attacks hitting on a 3+. Once again, not good. So 1 cannon having the same problem as last time. Battery packs jammed or something, they couldn't get it in. I need something here. This could go really bad for the Kazarkin and really good for the Death Guard. So we need 3+ here again. This is the other heavy las cannon. 1 fell off. You'd think you'd be able to get him, but nope. Getting that drama going here. So it's strength 14 versus toughness 6. It's going to be 2s to wound. Got that. It is a 4. -3 to AP. And I apologize, the Malignant Plaguecaster does not have an invulnerable. I'm just going to see if he has a Feel No Pain. He does not have a Feel No Pain either. If he was still with his Death Shroud, he would, but right now they are dead and gone. So this is going to be a 6+ save. And he made the save. So the Malignant Plaguecaster continues. Let's just see what kind of damage would have been done if that had made it through. Wouldn't have been enough anyways. It would have been d6+1. He still would have been going. So it is back over to this Malignant Plaguecaster, who's the sole model for the Plague Marines left here. And we're going to see what he does because he's in range, possibly for Nurgle's Gift, which is going to lower the toughness of all the models there. And then also he's going to have the ability to probably shoot. Each of the heavy las cannons do have 6 wounds, and my Castellan has 4, but he can still do some pretty damn good damage. So let's see how this goes. And we'll move over and just kind of show you guys that and where he moves. This is getting pretty wild. So he's in range, both the Plague or Nurgle's Gift with the Contagion, as well as all of his ranged weapons are in range. So these are going to be taking the penalties from Nurgle's Gift, and then he's also going to be able to put some warp magic onto them, as well as use his bolt pistol. So we're going to see how this goes. It's very possible that he could get some fantastic rolls and completely decimate maybe at least 1 heavy las cannon. We'll see, but we're going to go over the tray once again and roll it out and see what happens. Okay, so this is the Malignant Plaguecaster. Got a couple of different profiles here. He's the last one left, so I'm definitely going to be doing a hazardous focus Witchfire of Plague Wind as opposed to the regular. We're going to start off, though, with his bolt pistol. So it is hitting on a 3+. Did not get that. However, we still have his Plague Wind focused Witchfire. So this is d6 + 3. It is going to be 7 attacks in total. So we have 4 that are from that roll, plus our 3. So we have 7. Just make sure. Yep, 7. This is strength 6. Versus what would usually be a toughness 5. It is now a toughness 4 because of the Nurgle's Gift. So it's going to be 3s to wound. All of them have wounded. It is a -2 to AP. So that's all 2, 4, 6, 7. Just to make sure I got the right dice here that I'm pulling for the Cadian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is a -2 to AP. That brings our field ordnance batteries up to a 6+ save. And there's D3 damage for each that goes through. So this could actually finish them off if they don't roll well here. We are hoping for 6s if you're cheering for the Astra Militarum. And if you're cheering for the Death Guard, you hope that they all get wounds in here. So here we go. So one was made. However, yeah, and we didn't, the Castellan didn't give them a command there. It's too late. I would have said take cover, but it still wouldn't have mattered. They would have only had a 5+. This would have saved, but we're going to roll all these. So I'm being fair for both sides, and it's going to be D3, so these dice are going to get cut in half. So the damage coming out is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 damage. So that destroys one of the ordnance field batteries, and the other is down to 4 wounds. So this is literally right down to the quick. So I'm going to remove one of those. I'm going to reduce the wounds on the other, and we're going to get back to the Cadian here in just a sec and see if they can finish this guy off, because if he gets another attack in, that might be lights out. Like I said at the start, this battle was going to be a battle of time, and the time is starting to run out for the Cadian here as that Death Guard Malignant Plaguecaster continues to get closer and closer. So as I pull out here, you can see that one of the batteries has been absolutely destroyed, and then there's the other with 4 wounds remaining, and our Castellan with 4 wounds remaining. The Castellan is okay in hand-to-hand. I'm just hoping it doesn't have to come down to that. And we are going to be firing here with the heavy las cannon and also with the Castellan's bolt pistol, since that's now in range. And I am going to lock in, since this is their turn, I'm going to do take aim still. So sorry, that was the last command. I was thinking you can do 2 though, because he's a Castellan. So I'm going to put in take aim, and we're going to do take cover. So both models on the Cadian side are going to get a better save, which is going to help greatly with that rattle joint AUG contagion that's currently on them. And then the take aim is going to help both of their ballistic skill. So back over to the tray. I know that I said I was going to try to stay away from the tray because it does take a lot of time, but you need this stuff. This is the dramatic rolls that decide the battle. So we're going to move back over there and see if the heavy las cannon team and the Castellan can finish off this pesky Malignant Plaguecaster. Oof. Okay, so I've been rolling like kind of shit here for the heavy las cannon, so I'm hoping it changes this time. This may be the last turn. I've said that I think twice now. The damn Death Guard just continue to shamble forward. So this is going to be the remaining heavy las cannon. It is hitting on a 3+. Once again, one did not fire. Strength 14, toughness 6, 2 to wound. Got that one. I was really worried that that was going to flip to a 1. So we got the 6. It is -3 to AP. That brings the Malignant Plaguecaster up to a 6+. He did not make it this time. It is a 4. So we're going to see it is D6 + 1 damage. And he has been slain. So the heavy las cannon, pretty much point blank, I'd say like 9 inches away, just blasted at full power. That battery pack finally got kicked into place, and it has done 5 damage to a model that has 4 wounds, so still very, very close. And that's the damage profile of D6 + 1 for the heavy las cannon. So I'm going to move back over to the field here, show you guys the winning force, or what's left of them, and then kind of sum this one up, and we'll see who these Cadian are going to be taking on next. I'm interested to put in either a Xenos or another Chaos Space Marine force. So over to the table. There they are, the winning force. Only 4 models remain there, 2 units. We have the Castellan Cage, and the heavy las cannon team that was able to just hang on to finish off that Malignant Plaguecaster. If they had not rolled well enough, the bolt pistol I don't think would have done much damage, maybe 1 wound if we were lucky, and then it's very possible that we could have lost this one. The Cadian, however, have won, so I employed a pretty damn good strategy. I said before in previous videos, and maybe in this one, that I do play Astra Militarum, so I probably have the best hold over them. And I wanted to put a force in here that had a bit of artillery that was going to be able to keep some of these forces back. The 400 points, though, maximum, and the Death Guard came in at 390. it really limits a force like that. Like they were able to take care of the Blood Angels, but the Blood Angels were also limited. Whereas with a force like the Astra Militarum, you can get some pretty good models for pretty cheap. If I had taken in Cadian shock troops just by themselves, there's no way I would have won this one. I needed Khazarkin with that extra punch from their special weapons, and then the 2 heavy las cannons. I do think, though, that I'm probably going to put in the Tyranid next against them, and my Tyranid force is quite numerous because they're also an army that is very cheap. So I want to give my Astra Militarum a good test for this next one. So the next army is going to be Tyranid. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the content. The battlefield is also going to change. I love that I set it up like when I first started the game when I was like 12 years old, 12 or 13, back in 97, 98. I remember I used to play with my brother. We'd pull like twigs out from outside and like rocks and stuff and put it on my parents' floor. They probably didn't like that much, but thanks, Mom and Dad. It was always a blast. And the next field, I think I'm feeling a little bit of snow. I just got a Dungeons and Dragon Tundra map. It's really high quality too. It's almost like a rug on top with like a mouse pad underneath. It's pretty sweet. So I think I'm going to pull that out, and we are going to see how these Khazarkin, Cadian, Heavy Las Cannon, and Castellan force can do against one hell of a Tyranid force that I've put together. So be back in a bit. Hopefully shoot that one in the next little while. And thank you guys again so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.